After a 16-hour flight with very little sleep and frequent trips to the restroom, landing in a new country didn't seem quite as scary as it had back in the U.S. As Emily described, we were surprised by how much Johannesburg looked like the States. I, like the rest of us, spent most of the bus ride from the airport to Kruger National Park asleep. At one point, I looked down at the aisle of the bus and Sarah Quinn was asleep on the floor. We drove for hours through somewhat brown farmland, so I was not surprised when we got to Kruger and it was pretty brown too. I had naively expected to be surrounded by a plethora of wildlife upon entering the park. There was one scary and sad-looking vulture thing perched up on a dead tree that looked strikingly like the blue herons on our crew docks. I was virtually unprepared mentally for our first safari. Minutes after we arrived in Kruger, we were bundled up in extra layers. It's going to get very cold when it gets dark, they kept telling us. Then suddenly, we were on an open-air van ride, cruising through the vast and open African bush. Up until that point, things had been moving very quickly. But when we were finally sitting down and taking in the scenery, it was as though time had stopped and we had entered a whole other world. In essence, that was what we learned from this trip. So frequently, our lives move quickly, and we forget to stop and appreciate what is around us. More so, we are removed from other cultures, that experiences like this open our eyes to bigger issues than the ones we are facing here in school. I had never seen an elephant before I got to South Africa. That first night on the trip, we were completely blanketed in darkness, and our only source of light was the flashlight attached to the van that Forrest was swinging fervently. But suddenly, from behind a tree appeared a gray blob. "Stop!" someone yelled, and there they were, two big elephants and their calf. It was at that moment when I knew why I was there. Bundled up to the point of immobility on a van surrounded by people I was really just getting to know for the first time. These elephants were so precious and innocent, standing idly by on the side of the road, that it made me really reconsider what was important to me at that moment. Seeing these beautiful creatures in their natural habitat, undisturbed despite the human visitors to the park daily, is something I will never forget. Each time we went on safari, we saw something even more beautiful. A sunrise, two fascinatingly blue birds on a tree, and a giraffe in the afternoon sun. It is because of this trip that I have truly begun to appreciate the natural world around me and have developed an interest in learning more about new cultures.